Have you ever heard of a player called Kyrie Robinson?
I want to say Kyrie Robinson played for the Chiefs briefly. I believe was he a wide receiver for the Chiefs? I think that's my guess. I mean, it sounds vaguely familiar.
Well, he was an undrafted free agent signed with the Saints
Okay.
in 2013. He's a running back, 4-season career, had 194 carries for 788 rushing yards.
Wow.
What if I told you that Kyrie Robinson was traded for a rookie Odell Beckham Jr.?
I would say that when you put those two on the same scale, I would say that they don't match up.
It's the most talked about trade in our league's history, and for good reason. But what drove Scott and Ryan to make this trade? And what brought them to pick up the players in the first place?
Mr. Commissioner, you originally picked up Kyrie Robinson in the inaugural free agent draft. What did you see in him?
I saw someone a lot like myself. Young, athletic, jacked. First one in the gym, last one to leave. So, for me, when I'm evaluating players, I just pick people that emulate myself. And that's what I saw in Kyrie. So, of course, I added him to my team.
Just give me some credit, first of all. So in the initial draft, right, I drafted Odell and Hopkins for very cheap. I think Odell was maybe $8. If people thought so highly of him at the time, they could have bid me up more than $8.
When I was looking at OBJ, the whole thing was before the original draft, as the commish, putting a league together, a dynasty league for the first time, I just didn't have a lot of time to look into the new rookie class because I was busy meeting with corporations, sponsors, all that kind of stuff. So I just didn't have the time to evaluate the rookies. But I did once the season got rolling, and I looked at OBJ's tape, and I just saw, an absolute freak, someone who, multi-sport athlete, probably the best hands in the game period at that time. I'm like, you know what? I don't care that he's a little injured. I don't care that he's on the Giants. That guy's going to be on my team. And I looked at, Scott's roster. Scott did a good job finding him in the initial draft. Got him for $8, so Scott did great. But I saw someone that I could go ahead and swoop in and potentially, add to my roster.
I needed running back help, and Kyrie Robinson was the starter for the Saints. Odell was hurt. I don't think it was. Yeah, he was hurt. The first 4 weeks ish. Right, so this guy's a rookie, never played a game. At the time, I don't remember him being the next big thing. So I needed running back. I took Kyrie Robinson for a guy that hadn't played an NFL game yet. I think it was definitely justified in the logic behind it.
It's easy to see who won this trade. Kyrie Robinson would end up being out of the league in 2016, while OBJ would go on to have 5 1,000-yard receiving seasons in his first 6 years in the league. And as of this recording, he's still a member of the Red Red organization. Opposing GM's opinions on this deal? Well, they're pretty well known.
What's the worst trade in league history?
Well, the most notorious worst trade in the league, it has to be Odell Beckham Jr. for whatever the running back from the Saints. Kyrie Robinson, a nobody. Wasn't that the season where he did the 3-finger catch too?
And Manning's gonna heave one. There's a flag. Beckham, a one-handed catch.
That has to be the worst trade in our league's history.
Do you think there's any trade in the league that's worse than the OBJ Kyrie trade?
Definitely not. Makes me look like I've made good trades, and that's saying something.
Yeah, I can't say I remember an exact moment, but I definitely have heard it mentioned since then. So, because it was an OBJ trade for some Mr. Irrelevant between Ryan and Scott. Is that right?
Yeah, Ryan and Scott sent him OBJ, and he got back Kyrie Robinson.
Okay. Yeah, see, I don't even know who that is, so I think that makes sense. So Ryan fleeced Scott on that. That sounds right. It sounds like it's good long-term trade that we like to remind Scott about, so that's always fun.
I didn't know if it was good or bad when it actually happened because OBJ, a lot of hype about him, but so many people miss that you didn't know if that was going to be good or bad, or you didn't know if the running back that Kyrie, I don't remember the guy's name that got traded, but the thing I remember about that was the Super Bowl that year was Beasts and Heisenbergers, or whatever his name was. And I remember it was still a game, and Ryan was probably going to win, but he still was behind going into Monday night, and it was the Rams-Giants Monday night game, and he didn't need many points from OBJ, but OBJ went off and had a big game and won it, basically. So he won the Super Bowl with him. I remember, too, though, that in that game there was a big fight, and OBJ and one of the Rams linebackers attacked the guy, and basically I was hoping he would get ejected, but they didn't eject him. But he became a very fantasy relevant player. So I think that was a good trade for Ryan, obviously. It was a swing and a miss for Scott.
Overall, didn't think much of it to start, but in the end, a high quality fleece from the commissioner.
Takes me back to the 2014 season, back when nobody knew what the hell they were doing in this league. One person in particular knew less than everybody else, clearly. That was the person who traded away Odell Beckham Jr. Well, that trade, maybe when it was made, was a good idea. But it turned out to be not a good idea almost immediately. Weeks later, OBJ makes the catch, and then Scott looks like the biggest fool the league has ever seen.
OBJ has been a member now of all three of your championship teams. How important would you say this trade was to your overall success and legacy?
I would say, the fact that he's been on 3 of my championship teams, that's just the kind of moves that I make. That's what champions do. They go out, they make trades. You just got to win in every dimension. You got to win in the trade category, you got to win in the draft category, you got to win in the waiver wire, and you got to win in the decision-making column. And that's what I do. And you got to come through with the clutch. OBJ is just a part of that.
I'm actually interested to hear what Scott thinks is the worst trade he's ever made.
Luckily, the Dynasty champions don't let this trade keep him down.
In your opinion, what's the worst trade you've ever made?
You know, Austin, it's an interesting question, and honestly, here's my answer to the league. I don't regret any trades I've made. I don't think I've made any bad trades. You know, statistically, have some of them not worked out in my favor? Sure, but you know, this is a dynasty league for a reason, and I'm really thinking long term here. Is there a reason why I traded Christian McCaffrey, Michael Thomas, Odell Beckham, DeAndre Hopkins? Yes, those assets I accumulated, they're turning into something even more substantial. So I don't think there is a worse trade for me, Austin. I think all my trades have been just fine and dandy.